All right, so today we're diving into a world
Oh.
where hidden cameras and some pretty bold claims promise to expose the truth behind powerful institutions. Sounds exciting, right?
Oh, yeah.
What if all that is a smokescreen
Right.
for personal gain? That's the question we're tackling in our deep dive
Yeah.
into the career of James O'Keefe.
We are going to examine that fine line between genuine activism and calculated manipulation and ask the question,
Yeah?
is James O'Keefe a true visionary or just a master con artist?
And to help us figure that out, we've got a mountain of articles and court documents,
Oh, wow.
and even some early stories about O'Keefe that are pretty surprising. We'll explore his rise to fame,
Okay.
his most infamous projects, and ultimately, that question, is he genuinely changing the world
Right.
or just playing the system for his own benefit?
It's fascinating how he's managed to attract both fervent supporters and passionate critics.
It's wild, right? This is a guy who started his activist career trying to get Lucky Charms,
What?
cereal banned from Rutgers University dining halls.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
He claimed the leprechaun mascot was offensive to Irish Americans.
Wow, that definitely gives you a sense of his early approach, using provocation,
Oh, yeah.
even if some might find it absurd to challenge what he perceived as wrongdoing.
It sets the stage for what's to come. After Rutgers, he founded a conservative student paper called The Centurion,
Okay.
and even tried to obtain fraudulent ballots in New Hampshire.
These early activities already show a willingness to push boundaries and operate in legal gray areas to achieve his objectives.
Then comes the big turning point, the founding of Project Veritas in 2010. Their mission,
Okay.
to investigate and expose corruption, dishonesty, self-dealing, waste, fraud, and other misconduct in both public and private institutions.
And it was through Project Veritas that O'Keefe would launch himself onto the national stage,
Right.
becoming a hero to some and a villain to others.
His first major target, ACORN, the Association of Community Organizations for Reform Now. In 2009, Project Veritas released a series of undercover videos that sent shockwaves through the nation. These videos, heavily edited and presented with dramatic flair, showed ACORN employees appearing to advise O'Keefe and Hannah Giles,
Wow.
who were posing as a prostitute and a pimp
Wow.
on various illegal activities, including tax evasion and even human smuggling.
The public outrage was immediate and intense. Politicians from both sides of the aisle condemned ACORN,
Oh, wow.
and Congress quickly voted to defund the organization. It essentially shut down completely.
The impact was undeniable,
Yeah.
but the controversy surrounding the videos was just as significant.
Right.
Subsequent investigations revealed that the videos were heavily edited and manipulated
Really?
to create a misleading narrative.
See, and here's where things get really interesting. The California Attorney General concluded that, despite the appearances in the videos,
Okay.
the ACORN employees didn't actually break any laws. So while O'Keefe's tactics didn't technically lead to criminal charges,
Right.
the damage to ACORN's reputation and its ability to function was irreparable.
So it raises a crucial question.
Yeah.
Can you inflict serious harm without technically breaking the law? And if so, does that make you a crusader or a con artist?
It's a question that goes to the heart of O'Keefe's methods and raises important ethical considerations about the power of selectively presented information.
And these questions became even more prominent with O'Keefe's next major target,
Okay.
National Public Radio, better known as NPR.
Right.
In 2011, Project Veritas released another bombshell undercover video, this time featuring 2 NPR executives,
Okay.
making some pretty controversial comments about the Tea Party in Islam.
This video, like the ACORN sting, relied heavily on selective editing and a carefully crafted narrative designed to portray NPR as biased against conservatives.
And O'Keefe claimed that these comments proved NPR was hostile to conservative viewpoints and couldn't be trusted to report the news fairly.
However, when the full unedited footage was released, it became clear that the executives' comments had been taken out of context.
And in fact, one of the executives, Ron Schiller, stated in the unedited footage that donors absolutely cannot influence news coverage at NPR, directly contradicting the narrative O'Keefe was pushing.
Right.
Despite this revelation, the damage was done. Schiller resigned from NPR, and the organization faced a barrage of criticism from conservatives who used the edited video as evidence of liberal bias in the media.
This incident further solidified O'Keefe's reputation as someone willing to distort the truth to achieve his aims.
Yeah.
And it raises the question, is this the work of a truth seeker or someone with a specific agenda they're trying to push, regardless of the facts?
It's a pattern we see throughout his career, using undercover tactics, selective editing, and dramatic storytelling
Yeah.
to create a perception of wrongdoing,
Right.
even if the evidence doesn't fully support it.
And the list of targets just kept growing.
Yeah.
Right.
Project Veritas went on to target a wide range of organizations,
Mhm.
including Planned Parenthood, CNN, the Washington Post, and various labor unions.
The methods employed in these operations remain pretty consistent. Undercover recordings, hidden cameras, and narratives designed to create maximum impact and outrage. One particularly disturbing example involved CNN correspondent Abby Boudreau. Project Veritas attempted to lure her onto a boat with the intention of staging a sex sting to discredit her and CNN.
Thankfully, Boudreau didn't take the bait,
Right.
but the incident highlighted the lengths to which O'Keefe and his team were willing to go to achieve their objectives.
It definitely makes you wonder if there's a point where
Yeah.
the pursuit of exposure crosses a line,
Right.
even if no laws are technically broken.
And it raises the question, is this fearless journalism or something more sinister?
In another instance, Project Veritas released a deceptively edited video of Patrick Moran, the son of a U.S. congressman,
Okay.
discussing a plan to cast fraudulent ballots. Again, the goal appeared to be to create a scandal and sow distrust in the electoral process,
Yeah.
even if it meant distorting the truth.
These tactics led to legal trouble for O'Keefe. In 2010, he was arrested for attempting to tamper with the phone system of U.S. Senator Mary Landrieu.
He pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge in that case,
Wow.
marking a turning point in his career.
Yeah.
It was no longer just about controversial videos. He was now facing legal consequences for his actions.
More recently, O'Keefe was involved in the Ashley Biden diary theft case. He tried to prevent the government from accessing his communications related to the case, claiming journalist privilege.
However, the judge in the case rejected this argument,
Right.
stating that journalist privilege doesn't protect reporters from turning over information in certain cases,
Correct.
particularly when there's evidence of criminal activity.
And then, in a truly shocking turn of events, O'Keefe was ousted from his own organization in February 2023. He was removed as CEO of Project Veritas amid accusations of financial misconduct and a toxic work environment.
Multiple employees accused O'Keefe of mistreating staff, engaging in verbal abuse,
Wow.
and creating a culture of fear and intimidation.
It's a dramatic fall from grace for someone who positioned himself as a champion of truth and transparency.
It definitely complicates the narrative, doesn't it? We have to consider whether these accusations are credible
Yeah.
and how they might factor into our overall assessment of O'Keefe's character.
It's a lot to unpack,
Yeah.
and we've only just scratched the surface.
We've seen how O'Keefe has used his platform to expose wrongdoing and challenge powerful institutions.
Right.
But we've also seen evidence of manipulation, distortion, and potentially unethical behavior.
So is he a fearless crusader exposing corruption? Or is he a cunning manipulator using deception for personal gain?
We'll continue to explore these questions as we delve deeper into the world of James O'Keefe. We've seen how James O'Keefe's methods have yielded both dramatic results and serious controversy. Now let's take a closer look at some of those methods and the ethical considerations they raise.
Yeah, it seems like there's always this question of whether the ends justify the means when it comes to O'Keefe. Like, we talked about those ACORN videos that led to the organization's downfall. No laws were broken,
Right.
but the damage was done.
That's a prime example of what we might call reputational harm. Even in the absence of legal wrongdoing, O'Keefe's tactics can have devastating consequences
Right.
for individuals and organizations.
It's like a trial by public opinion fueled by carefully edited footage.
Exactly. And that raises important questions about the responsibility of someone like O'Keefe, who presents himself as a journalist.
Yeah.
Is he simply presenting information and letting the public decide? Or is he actively shaping a narrative through selective editing and misleading framing?
It's a tricky balance. On the one hand, you could argue he's exposing wrongdoing that might otherwise go unnoticed.
Right.
But on the other hand, manipulating footage and distorting the truth to fit a predetermined narrative
Yeah.
doesn't seem very ethical.
It really blurs the lines between journalism, activism, and propaganda.
Right.
And that's a theme we see throughout O'Keefe's career.
Like that incident in 2010 where he was arrested for trying to tamper with Senator Mary Landrieu's phone system.
Right.
He claimed he was trying to expose security vulnerabilities,
Right.
but it definitely looked like an attempt to illegally obtain information.
And that incident wasn't just controversial, it had real legal consequences.
Yeah.
O'Keefe pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge, marking a significant escalation from the ethical debates surrounding his video editing practices.
It definitely raised the stakes and made people question his motives even more.
And speaking of motives,
Yeah?
let's talk about the Ashley Biden diary case.
Okay.
O'Keefe's involvement in that situation raised even more questions about his journalistic ethics and potential involvement in criminal activity.
He tried to claim journalist privilege to block the government from accessing his communications related to the case. But the judge wasn't buying it.
The judge ruled that journalist privilege doesn't protect reporters from turning over information
Right.
in cases where there's evidence of a crime.
Okay.
Essentially, the judge was saying that you can't hide behind the First Amendment if you're potentially involved in illegal activity.
It's a reminder that even someone who claims to be a champion of transparency can have secrets they're trying to protect.
And it adds another layer to our assessment of O'Keefe.
Yeah.
Is he a fearless truth teller, or is he willing to break the law to achieve his aims?
And then, just when you think things couldn't get any crazier,
Right.
O'Keefe is suddenly ousted from his own organization. It's like something out of a movie.
His removal as CEO of Project Veritas in 2023 was a shocking turn of events, and it sent shockwaves through both his supporters and his detractors.
The official reason was violating organizational bylaws.
Right.
But there were rumors of financial misconduct and a toxic work environment.
Multiple employees accused O'Keefe of mistreating staff, engaging in verbal abuse,
Wow.
and creating a culture of fear within the organization.
It's hard to reconcile that image with the one he presents publicly as this crusading journalist taking on the powerful.
It certainly raises questions about his leadership style and his ability to manage an organization effectively.
Yeah.
And it also makes you wonder if his relentless pursuit of exposure, regardless of the cost, might have ultimately contributed to his downfall.
Maybe he pushed too far, alienated too many people, and created too many enemies along the way.
It's certainly possible, and it highlights a potential paradox in O'Keefe's approach. He's built a career on exposing the hidden truths and hypocrisies of others, but his own organization may have been harboring secrets and engaging in practices that contradict the values he claims to uphold.
It's a reminder that even the most vocal advocates for transparency can have their own blind spots and skeletons in the closet.
And it adds yet another layer of complexity to our central question. Is James O'Keefe a visionary who's trying to make the world a better place? Or is he a con artist who's using deception and manipulation for personal gain?
It's a question that's been debated for years, and there's no easy answer.
But there's one final piece of the puzzle we need to explore before drawing any conclusions. And it involves a fascinating and perhaps unexpected comparison between James O'Keefe and the renowned English writer G.K. Chesterton.
We've explored the controversies, the legal battles, accusations. It's a lot to process when trying to figure out who James O'Keefe really is and what his motivations are.
And just when you think you have him figured out,
Yeah.
there's this intriguing connection that some people draw between O'Keefe and a writer from a completely different era,
Yeah.
G.K. Chesterton.
Yeah, this one really threw me for a loop when I first heard it. G.K. Chesterton, the early 20th century English writer,
Right.
known for his wit, his paradoxes,
Yeah.
and his devout Catholic faith. What on earth does he have to do with James O'Keefe and Project Veritas?
It's a comparison that O'Keefe himself has embraced. He's even referred to Chesterton as his guiding light.
And some of the supporters see O'Keefe as a modern-day Chesterton,
Yeah.
a fearless truth-teller challenging conventional wisdom and exposing hypocrisy wherever he finds it.
But for others, the comparison is laughable. Chesterton was a master of language and logic, a writer who valued honesty and fairness even in his most pointed critiques.
Those qualities don't exactly scream Project Veritas, do they?
Not particularly. O'Keefe's tactics often seem to prioritize winning at all costs,
Yeah.
even if it means bending the truth or inflicting harm.
So how do we reconcile this apparent contradiction? Is it possible to be a Chestertonian and still engage in the kind of deceptive practices that O'Keefe is known for?
That's the question we're left with, isn't it? It forces us to consider the complexities of truth-seeking and the ethical dilemmas that arise when we try to expose wrongdoing.
Does the end justify the means? Or are there certain lines we should never cross, even in pursuit of a noble goal?
These are questions that extend far beyond James O'Keefe. They're questions we all have to grapple with as we navigate a world where information is weaponized and truth is often elusive.
It's easy to get caught up in the spectacle, the drama, the gotcha moments.
Right.
But we also need to be critical consumers of information
Right.
and consider the motives of those who are presenting it to us.
Exactly. We have to ask ourselves, who benefits from this information being presented in this way? What
Yeah.
agendas are at play?
Right.
And ultimately, what is the truth as best we can discern it?
It's a responsibility we all share, especially in today's world.
Definitely.
And as we've seen with James O'Keefe,
Yeah.
the line between visionary and con artist can be incredibly blurry.
He's a complex figure who defies easy categorization. He's exposed corruption and sparked important conversations. But he's also been accused of deception, manipulation, and potentially illegal activity.
So where does that leave us? Grifter or gifted? Well, we've given you the information,
Right.
the different perspectives, the complexities of the case. Now it's up to you to decide.